Well, the Ohio State Buckeyes wake up late and survive a scare from the Maryland Terps. We are live on a Saturday here with reaction. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked on Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked on Big Ten. I am Craig Sheeman. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. And if you're catching us live, great. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And we're brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. Well, the Buckeyes have a bit of a scare until they didn't. We'll explain all of that. We'll have the best of the rest around the Big Ten and our first look at Week 7 right here on Locked On Big Ten. Be sure to subscribe. If you're new especially, please subscribe to this. You can follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way you'll get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. We release them first thing in the morning, video and audio versions. Want you to be a part of it. Again, if you're new here on the live Saturday broadcast, thank you very much for checking us out. I think you'll like what we do. Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes. That is Ryan Day's 50th win, by the way. They're 5-0. And by the way, 50 wins in just 56 games for Ryan Day. But, you know, the big question of the day was whether Maryland at 5-0, if it was a real 5-0, like could they hang with the big three and make it a big four conversation in the Big Ten with Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State? Well, they had a chance today going into Ohio State to get everybody's attention around the world and, of course, the Big Ten. And you know what? For the first half and maybe even arguably for the first three quarters, they were the best team on that football field today. I'd love to hear what you have to think as well. Plenty of reaction to that. But the Buckeyes, I don't know if it was sluggish coming out of the bye week or what. They punted on their first four drives. The Terps took a 10-0 lead. The Buckeyes only had 16 yards rushing in the first half. I mean, it did not look good. They were slumbering through. The Buckeyes offensive line, they couldn't meet out the linebackers out there and get any kind of running game going. It was just a one-dimensional offense. Kyle McCord was back there just trying to do whatever he could get going. Even Urban Meyer at halftime on the Fox show was like, look, I know the Buckeyes have 3 new offensive linemen up front, but this is game 5, all right? You're half of a season of being a veteran here. Let's go. Let's put it together. And to their credit, they did much better in the second half for sure. But, you know, up to that point, the Buckeye crowd, if you were there, I don't know, the Buckeye crowd was quiet and nervous. It was not a typical feel or vibe at Ohio State today. And then Taulia Tagovailoa he began to make a series of critical mistakes in this game that caused Maryland to lose its grip on this football game. First of all, they were up 10-0, and then he throws a pick six, all right? Made a bad pass. Pick six, and right then the Ohio State's right back in the ball game with the touchdown. And then there was the clock management situation by the Maryland offense and Leah there at the end of the half. They're in the red zone. He completes a pass inside the red zone in the middle of the field with no timeouts left. I believe there were about 12 seconds on the play when the play started. By the time they unpiled, it was 0. They got nothing. Couldn't get off another play. You know, Ohio State kind of sat on some people for an extra half second like they're coached to do, and Maryland couldn't get to the line of scrimmage, and they couldn't even get a field goal or anything. So that was bad clock management by the Terps in that situation and a missed chance at 3 points. And then as we continue into the third quarter, we're still tied at 17. We still have a game. We're still wondering, are we going to have upset city headlines across the Big Ten? And then Leah throws another interception, the second one of the game. It's returned to the 38-yard line. I will give Maryland's defense some credit. It was still a game at this point. The defense was hanging in there. Mike Loxley even had a nice coaching move where he waited to the last second to make a defensive replacement into the ball game. And so Ohio State had to burn a timeout with 2 seconds on the play clock there. So it was a heady play there. and they end up holding Ohio State to just a field goal try. So it was a 24-yard field goal with 2 minutes to go in the third quarter. That was Ohio State's first lead in the game. So if you saw the final score and it's a 20-point game, and you're like, Craig, what are you saying? It was a scare for? Well, it was up to this point. Maryland was very much in the game. But that's kind of where Kyle McCord really grew up in front of our eyes and took over the game. He had 320 yards passing today and 2 touchdowns. And Marvin Harrison had 8 catches for 163 yards and a touchdown as well. But it wasn't even flawless at that point either. I mean, it wasn't a lock or anything. There were a few errors by the Buckeyes still at this point of the game. Kyle McCord probably threw his prettiest pass of the season out toward the right sideline to Marvin Harrison, who hauled it in over his shoulder. But there was a penalty on the Buckeyes, whether it was Ryan Day or somebody on the sideline got in the way of the official, and so they threw a flag on it. So the 37-yard gain is backed up 15 yards because of that. They bounce back the next play. Kyle McCord hits Cade Stover for a 44-yard touchdown. And, there was a delay of game in there too. But they bounce back with the touchdown and make it 27-17. And then another thing I didn't understand. Maryland went for it on a 4th and 3 deep in their own territory. About 8 minutes to go. They need like 3 scores at this point. So they probably figured this was it. But it got stuffed. The defensive line by Ohio State read it perfectly. And at that point, I think it was about the 17-yard line. It felt over at that point. Kyle McCord then finds Marvin Harrison again for an apparent touchdown, but Xavier Johnson got called for a questionable motion call. You Buckeye fans were probably irate at that. It's a play that they let go all the time, but I guess he wasn't squared up in the line of scrimmage with a little bit of motion. Very questionable call, but no problem for the Buckeyes. They answer right back. McCord to Harrison again for another touchdown with 7 minutes to go. That made it 34-17. And then they also add a late field goal at that point with about 2 minutes to go. So 27 unanswered points for Ohio State at that point, and they absolutely roll. Again, 37-17 win. Think, hey, easy breezy. It was anything but. It was just all kind of clustered late there in the second half. And I wonder how, Maryland Terps fan, how do you feel today? I mean, you had this game circled. You thought, wow, we're undefeated. We got a lot of veteran players. This is Mike Loxley's program has been in place. This is our chance to go in there and shine. And for 3 quarters, largely, you did. And you felt like you belonged with the upper echelon guys in the Big Ten. But then it just unraveled and fell apart. So a very disappointing day for Maryland Terp fans, no doubt. And give Ohio State credit. If they play like that, I'm not going to say the second half. I'm going to say the last quarter and a half. If they play like that the rest of the season, they might be unbeatable. I mean, it was really good. All of a sudden, just something happened. You probably heard Ryan Day talking after game, the post game. He wasn't happy with the first half at all, but pretty happy with how things went in the second half. So pretty good day for the Ohio State Buckeyes in the long run in a 37-17 win. Always, we welcome comment. If you're new to this, we do these podcasts, Locked On Big Ten, part of the Locked On Network, every weekday. First thing in the morning, Monday through Friday, we have an audio version. If you just want to listen in your car, we have the video version on YouTube that you are watching on right now on this channel every day out there. And we just happen to go live on Saturdays after these games, and we've had a little bit of success with it. I hope you enjoy it. And it's a conduit for you to react and comment to everything that's going on. But if you are new, we would love it if you would subscribe to this channel. That way you'll get this podcast as soon as it's available each and every day. Check that bell as well if you want a little alarm to let you know. We usually release the audio versions super early in the morning, but the video versions, I think, are around 6 o'clock Eastern time, and they're there for you to watch first thing in the day every single day. But we're glad to have you here on this live lockdown broadcast here on a Saturday. So what we want to do, there are other games in the Big Ten. We will get to all of that. And we'll also take the first look ahead to next weekend right here on a live version on Saturday on Locked On Big Ten. So every day there are small businesses out there that have to hire new people. It's like a coach having to find a new player for a team, for a position. Maybe you got a hole in the lineup. And these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high stakes wager for your small business. And you want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs finds the right people for your team faster and for free. You post the job, you add the job there, you got the purple hashtag hiring frame, sets up the LinkedIn profile, and it spreads the word to everybody that you're hiring. And they have simple tools like screening questions. And that way it's easy for you to focus on getting just the right candidates with the right skills. So you're not wasting your time, and you can quickly prioritize your candidates, who you want to interview and who you want to hire. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. Here's what you need to do. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So in addition to the big Ohio State win over Maryland today, Nebraska and Matt Rule, they get their first conference win on Friday night. They went on the road at Illinois, 20-7. Heinrich Haarberg continuing to play well for them offensively, 154 yards. He threw for 154 yards. He also ran for a team-high 82 yards and a touchdown in that game. And the Nebraska defense stopped Illinois twice inside the 1-yard line on the opening drive. It set the tone for the rest of the game. Brett Bielema was beside himself. He says he can't remember the last time in his career they needed 6 inches, had 2 cracks at it, and couldn't get it. And that's kind of their bread and butter. So that was bad by Illinois, but good for Nebraska and their defense really towing the line there. Also, Illinois had a number of Dick Buckeyes tributes in that game. Of course, Buckeyes, former Fighting Illini and Chicago Bear, passed away on Thursday at the age of 80. Meanwhile, other Big Ten action on Saturday, Wisconsin, they beat Rutgers 24-13 to improve to 4-1 and 2-0 into Big Ten, and that's coming off a bye week, and they had to work on a lot of stuff like tackling. It's been a bugaboo of theirs. And they held a Rutgers team to 64 yards rushing. They did a good job defensively. And also Ricardo Hallman had the pick 6 for 95 yards right with 4 seconds to go in the half. And that really set the tone there. Braden Allen running the ball, 101 yards and a touchdown. So a lot of good things for Wisconsin coming off the bye week. They get the W at home against Rutgers. Meanwhile, Howard at Northwestern today. Northwestern had a pretty sizable lead in this game, and they gave up 13 points in the fourth quarter, but they hold on to win. The Wildcats ended up winning this game 23-20. They tripled their win. That's 3 wins now. After everything they went through over the summer and the hazing scandal and the coaching changes and all the players that just, were ready to go. We're all distraught. They've got 3 wins already. They had 1 last year. So good job by Northwestern. Right when we went on the air here live, I saw that Iowa was up by a couple of scores on Purdue at Kinnick Stadium. Cooper DeJean, again, another interception and a 41-yard return. If you haven't seen Cooper DeJean play football, treat yourself. Watch him. He's got a nose for football. He had like 3 pick sixes last year. He had an interception last week against Michigan State. He had a pick here today. Last week, he returned a punt for a touchdown. He's an incredible athlete. He's a lot of fun to watch. I highly recommend you check him out. If you don't watch a lot of Iowa football, you should for that very reason. Of course, Iowa today without Cade McNamara, the starting quarterback, who's out for the year with the knee injury from last week. So, again, right when we went on the airwaves here, they were up by a couple of scores against Purdue. And then tonight, under the lights at 7:30 Eastern time, depending on what time you consume this, if you're watching it live or later on today, Michigan will be in Minnesota for the Little Brown Jug. We'll have all the reaction to that one, plus the Ohio State win today, and all the other games in the Big Ten on our regular Monday podcast. Again, we're regular Monday through Friday, first thing every morning. You can watch it whenever you want throughout the day. It's there. But going live here today, and always appreciate you checking us out here. Also, some other Big Ten news, just real quick while I have you. Michigan State fans, Mel Tucker, still, and even though he's been fired, he's still in the middle of the Title IX hearing, right? His accuser, Brenda Tracy, has been granted an emergency restraining order temporarily banning Tucker and his attorneys from releasing more of her private text messages. So not good news for Mel Tucker on that front. And, of course, remember on June, we had that great schedule release in the Big Ten with the addition of Southern Cal and UCLA. And then a few weeks later, we decided, Oregon and Washington are coming. That whole schedule had to be redone. It was released late this week. We're going to dive into a couple of observations with that this upcoming week on our regular podcast Monday through Friday, and probably around Tuesday or so, because Monday we're really busy. Maybe we'll do it Monday. I don't know. We're really busy catching up on all the games and everything going on, but we'll get to all that. I have a lot of thoughts on it. I'm sure you do. And, of course, you can always hit me up with comments at Twitter, at Talk Big Ten. Also here on YouTube. As soon as I'm off the air here, I'm going to go hit the comments and see what you guys have to say about this podcast. And, of course, the games today. Your thoughts on that are very important. We will get to all of that. And we also have a website, Talk Big Ten with the number 10, talkbig10.com, if you'd like to check that out as well. Plus, in addition to all of that, on this channel every Friday from 11 a.m. to noon, it's their Locked On College Football Kickoff Live show. I always contribute a few minutes to that, previewing everything that's going on in the Big Ten. It's on this channel. A bunch of people are involved from the Locked On family. And it's on all the Locked On College channels as well. You can find it there, but you can find it here as well. So I don't want you to miss any of that. If you're just discovering us here on a Saturday, thank you. We're loaded. We do a lot of stuff throughout the week that I think you'll like if you like the Big Ten. If you have a family member or a friend or a person at work that loves the Big Ten, turn them on to us. It's one of the reasons we're jumping in here live on Saturday to get more people's attention, to bring more people into the family. When we started this Locked On Big Ten channel has been around for a little while, but I took it over here as a host back in late June. We had like 1,200 subscribers. We're up to like 3,700 now. We're growing leaps and bounds. So we can only do that when you guys subscribe. Right at the bottom, do it. We always appreciate it. Thank you very much for all of that. All right, coming up, we'll have the first look anywhere. Head to next weekend, week 7. The schedule starts to get intense. These games get more and more important around the Big Ten. All that coming up on Locked On Big Ten right here. And I wanted to tell you about FanDuel. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. You can't beat it. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get into action. The app is easy to use. You can do point spreads, money line, player props, over-unders. It's all there. It's fun. It's a blast. I mean, you can bet like $1 if you want. Whatever, you can just to have fun with it, just whatever you want. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. Of course, FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right, so a lot going on a Saturday. Let's look ahead to next week and what is going on. Indiana coming off its bye week this week with a new offensive coordinator. You know that Walt Bell was fired by Tom Allen after the Maryland game. He promoted Rod Carey. Rod Carey says, we're not going to change that much. We're going to be what we are. We're going to do what we do well. Here's the problem. They hit the road. Their first game coming off the bye with the new offensive coordinator is at the Big House against Michigan, a team that looks unstoppable right now. So they got that. By the way, that's the big noon kickoff game on Fox. So that's next weekend. Ohio State, which we led off this podcast talking about with their win over Maryland today. Ryan Day's 50th win as the head coach of the Buckeyes. They travel to West Lafayette and take on the Purdue Boilermakers. The Fighting Illini at 2-4 following Friday's loss to Nebraska. They travel to the Maryland team we just talked about today that fell to 5-1. You know, they're going to be upset, want to take it out on somebody and be at home. The Big Ten West Showdown with the championship implications next weekend. The Iowa Hawkeyes traveling to Wisconsin to take on the Badgers. I think that is going to be an intense game and a great crowd out there, and that'll be a lot of fun. So, again, it is Iowa and Wisconsin. Michigan State off the bye. They are at Rutgers. Points might be at a premium in that one. Michigan State has been struggling, and Rutgers is pretty decent at defense overall. And then Penn State comes off of a bye and they have almost another bye because they're taking on UMass. That should be like 60-7, probably, honestly. But it's a little warm up, if you will, coming up the bye, because the following week is the biggest game thus far in the season. The Nittany Lions are at Ohio State. Can't wait for that one the following week. That is going to be a lot of fun. This was a lot of fun. Thank you for joining us on a Saturday, a live podcast of Locked On Big Ten. Again, we have these sent out every Monday through Friday for you, an audio version and a video version on YouTube. Wherever you get your podcast, it's there. Locked On Big Ten. Check it out. Thanks for finding us here today. There's more of this to come if you're new to it. If you're a regular and everydayer, thank you so much. We always appreciate it. You can always hit me up on Twitter at TalkBig10, number 10. Our website, talkbig10.com with the number 10, Talk Big 10. And, of course, here on YouTube, always hit those comments afterward. Be sure to subscribe and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Also invite you to check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast, cover everything else going on in sports. In the meantime, have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks for checking us out, and I can't wait till you see us the next time we are out and about, which will be on Monday. I'm Craig Sheeman for Locked On Big Ten.